You guys, thank you so much for coming out. This has been an event I've been looking to for a while, so we're super excited. But this is our first installment of our Skyrun Summer Speaker Series. Here at Skimo and Skyrun, we're super passionate about and committed to getting folks out into the mountains. A little bit of a newer direction for us. We are going to be talking tonight about the art of free flight. We'll kind of go through the basics of the sport, the risk, the cost, the gear, and the objectives that inspire us in the conversation with the athletes that are pushing the discipline forward and defining the future of flight. Today, we're joined by Dr. Sam Inouye. We're super excited to have him. An accomplished cross-country paragliding pilot and endurance athlete, Dr. Inouye works as a family medicine doctor in Hurricane, Utah, and has been practicing for 16 years. A University of Utah grad, Sam and his brothers Aaron and Jared have been tearing up the Wasatch for decades, putting down notable ski mountaineering descents at home and abroad. Sam has not only skied Denali, but also completed a winter traverse of the Uinta Highline route. Sam started flying in 2018 and has competed in several cross-country races, including a first-place finish at Alaska's 3-day Hatcher Pass Hike and Fly, which is a pretty rowdy race. Sam has also joined in conversation with Ben Werbner, a local skier and pilot primarily pursuing descent-oriented flying here in the Wasatch and Sierra. Ben flies every style of nylon he can get his hands on, from speed wings to mini wings to paragliders to even 38-meter tandems. Ben has been consistently putting down new technical alpine descents in the fast and light style we love here at Skimo and Skyrun. When not flying or skiing, Ben works as the lead ski tech here at Skimo. Before I pass it over to these guys, just wanted to say thank you guys again so much for taking your time coming out. We're super excited here. Also, quick plug for Chapel Brewing. We've got some beers in the back as well as some seltzers, so please help yourselves, you guys. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to these guys.
All right, thanks Calvin for that glowing intro. Also super stoked to be here. Incredibly passionate about free flight. I've been flying for a handful of years and absolutely changed my life. And so my goal is just to make the sport more accessible, help people get into it, do it safely, and find the right gear to do it. Great intro for Sam. Before we get to talking kind of interview style, I just wanted to lay down some kind of foundational information for those of you that may not be as familiar with the sport. So I like to say that there's really kind of three modes of flight. You can use it to go down, you can use it to go up, or you can kind of stay in place. And I'll explain why you might want to do each of those things. They're all incredibly fun. So descent-oriented flying, sometimes referred to as hike and fly, run and fly, climb and fly. The idea is you're doing whatever it is that inspires you in the mountains. You're gaining vertical. You might be in the foothills, you might be in the alpine, and then you're traveling with a pretty small and light pack. Very simple. All you really need to fly is a harness and a wing. This is an example of a lightweight harness from Niviuk. Weighs about 150 grams, so a couple sips of water basically. This is an example of a wing, kind of medium size, mini wing. So you're gonna do your hike, do your climb, do your run, pull your gear out. It takes about 5 minutes to set up. There's no jumping, there's no cliffs. You jog off a slope and you enjoy a 1 minute to 15 minute glide down the mountain. Usually you're landing at the trailhead or very nearby. So descent-oriented flying, hike and fly, it's a great way to get down. Sam's specialization among all the disciplines, really, because we all do it all as much as we have time for, is going up. So when you get on a slightly larger canopy, they're usually 22 to 26 square meters. They're very efficient airfoils. So once this thing is inflated, any amount of rising air is going to let you climb, build some altitude. So you can catch thermals, heat rising from the ground during the day. You can also catch ridge lift, so wind hitting a slope and being deflected upwards. So what this lets you do is climb up, glide to find another climb, climb up, glide to find another climb, and travel incredibly long distances. So recently we had a couple pilots put down almost 200-mile flights here in Utah. So really incredible, capable medium. And Sam's gonna going to tell us a lot more about that and how that can be used, not only just to explore the mountains, but also in a competitive environment. It's an extremely technical discipline that I admire a lot, frankly. So, the third kind I won't spend too much time on, but I'll just emphasize, it's called ridge soaring. So when wind hits a hill, it's deflected upwards. That generates some lift. It allows you to spend hours in the air, really on any size wing. So it's a great way to learn. That's how most people here learn. Salt Lake is unique because we have incredibly consistent soaring for being inland. What's great about that is you can spend hours kind of figuring out how the wing works, and then you can go right across the road and transfer that into the mountains for mountain flying, which is probably what a lot of people in our community are excited about. So it's you might not know it, you're in one of the best places in the world really for learning how to fly. Yeah, that being said, the other kind of foundational terms I'd go over to start, you may have heard speed wings, paragliders, hang gliders, parasails, that's irrelevant, mini wings. So they're basically all the same anatomy. They're all the same thing. They're designed to specialize in different aspects of free flight. So a paraglider is a little bit larger. They make them incredibly light and packable still. You're going paragliding, you have a more substantial harness. You want to be aerodynamic. You want to be insulated from cold temperatures when you go up to high altitudes. We're allowed to fly up to 18,000 feet, which is pretty insane. And you have some navigational instruments as well. And then you're also going to carry a reserve parachute because when you're flying paraglider, you can be in very turbulent air. In contrast to that, mini wings are kind of the middle ground, and that's kind of our bread and butter here. They're really versatile tools for descent-oriented flying. They're very easy to inflate. They're very packable and light. They're easy to fly. They're safe to fly. They're easy to land. So a really nice middle ground, basically a small, lightweight paraglider. A speed wing is essentially the same thing, but it's going to be much smaller. It's going to fly much faster and steeper. The advantage of speed wings, besides being incredibly stable inherently, is they allow you to contour the terrain and to match the terrain. So it's a lot like freeride skiing. It's a very flow-oriented, high-speed sport. It's very consequential as well. So the stakes go up when you're going faster. You may have heard of single skin or single surface paragliders or mini wings. Very specialized tools, the absolute lightest. Those weigh under 1 kilogram for the wing. The harness is 100 grams, so you're looking at a kit that's 2.5 pounds. And those are pretty capable tools, but they do lack the performance of the traditional double skin design. So hopefully that just gives some terms to orient those of us who have never flown before as to kind of the differences and similarities in the gear and the styles of flying. So I don't think there's anything else I wanted to mention there, really. Yeah, let's just get right into it. Cool. So yeah, I mean, we all want to get off the ground. I mean, you guys wouldn't be here if you weren't interested. I remember the first time my feet left the ground flying. I mean, it's an intoxicating feeling. Yeah. I think it's transcendent. I mean, it's incredible. So, yeah, what was it like for you, like getting into the sport? Was it what you imagined?
Yeah, I kind of, I was just talking to one of the other people here tonight about how I got into it. It was really on a whim. I was living in Alaska at the time, and we came back for a Christmas break to visit family. And my brother suggested we just go take a lesson at Point of the Mountain. And we took a lesson, and I was hooked after one lesson, to tell you the truth. But the first lesson, my first flight, I crashed.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
So it was a winter day, I wasn't starting on the high dive, we were just starting low. Sure. Just probably like 30 feet up the hill. And we brought up the wing, and my instructor said launch, and in my head I just thought launch, so I jumped. So I learned the hard way, you don't jump, because as you jump you create all this slack in your lines and the wing collapses, and I just jumped and I rolled down the hill. He was like, don't do that. So yeah, that's how I started.
And that was here at
That was here at
Mountain?
Point of the Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
But second try, I flew. You know, it wasn't one of those like a 30-foot flight, but like just to leave the ground, to, you know, it's like you said, it's a feeling you can't really explain, you know. And I still love it. Like a lot of people say after they keep flying over and over again, it's less, you know, it's less exciting, but I still love it. And I've been flying 8 years, and I you know, fly every chance I can get still.
It's being in the air is magical,
Yeah.
regardless of what you're flying.
For sure.
So what did your progression look like? So you took your first lesson.
Yeah,
you
so progression.
ate some dirt.
So
and
I'm
then,
kind of a bad example. So I'll tell.
That's all right.
I'll be honest. But,
You're still here. You've
I'm
done well
still
for
here.
yourself, so.
So I again was visiting, and you know, so with your intro to paragliding, you know, usually just start by getting what they call a P2 rating, and it has certain requirements. I think at the time it was like 5 days of flights, certain number of flights, some ground school. So anyway, I was here on that short trip, and we pushed through, and I got my P2 in that first week. And
Wow,
I went back to
yeah.
Alaska. I bought a wing, and then I started teaching myself what I didn't know. But that said, like, it was winter time, so it was a good time to not get hurt because snow. And then there was a good network of mentors that evolved over time. That's the hard thing, I think, when you learn, is that you're scared of asking for help. You're scared of like reaching out and, you know, finding mentorship. And that's truly, I would emphasize that above all with my progression, that if I could have fixed anything, it would have been getting mentors right at the beginning. But Alaska is a little isolated place in a way. I mean, there's a close-knit club of paragliding, you know, Arctic airwalkers, we call it. And so, like, once you reach out, like, you're you know, it's an amazing group of, you know, paragliders, and everyone's willing to help. But in the beginning, like, I was shy to do so, you know. I think a lot of us that get into paragliding, we might have the personality that, you know, we're already, you know, we might already have that habit of, you know, trying to do things on our own.
Totally.
You know,
yeah.
I know I can do this. I can learn. But, you know, if I could rewind the clock, you know, I'd probably, you know, take it a little bit slower. But as far as progression-wise, you know, I started on an A wing. So every paraglider has a different rating. And as far as, it's kind of a safety rating, I guess I would describe it as. An A wing means that if it collapses and you don't do anything, it'll reopen. And so, and then as you step up with these wings, you're trading that inherent safety, that we call passive safety, for more performance. So a safe A wing would be just a really fat, you know, very stable canopy. And then a more high performance swing, you'll see them get more and more span and more narrow. And so those swings, those wings are like, they can be like slippery noodles in the air. And so, like, when you're trying, if you have a big square above you, it's a lot easier to control than like a little squiggly, you know, noodle. And so the noodle, though, will glide farther. And so you're always deciding, well, I want to go faster, I want to go glide farther, versus, oh, if this wing explodes in the air, man, you're gonna have to do a lot more, you know, corrections to get it to fly.
Yeah. Well, I'll also say figuratively explodes, meaning loses its profile, loses its airfoil
Yeah,
shape.
good description. Just because if you can imagine like a tent, you know, if your tent is, if you're flying under a figurative tent, if a big, you know, air current or turbulence just smashes that tent in the air, it will no longer be flying, you know. So
yeah.
But yeah, so as far as progression, I went through all the wings, so A size, B size, C size, D, you know, D rating.
And then you fly on a D wing now?
Yeah, this current wing. So this is my kit. Currently, it's a D rated, really lightweight wing. That kit there only weighs like 15 pounds. but it allows me to carry out up a hill fast, but I still can glide really far. So
Totally. So this is, a full-size paraglider like we're talking about, with very aerodynamic and competitive harness for traveling long distances. And I think maybe just to summarize that point about the ratings of paragliders, there's a trade-off between stability and ease of use and ease of flying and performance. And in cross-country paragliding, performance means your glide ratio, so how flat you can fly, and then your speed as well. So how much of a wind can you penetrate, and how efficiently can you link between climbs. So that's one. That's kind of the paragliding progression, if you will. I think that there are, just like in skiing, I'd say, or climbing, right? Like you can push the grade sport climbing, but you can also take your foundations and go and do alpine routes that are maybe not that hard, but they're very adventurous and bold. So in flying, that might mean going to a higher rated paraglider. It might mean going to a smaller wing. It might mean just going to a different style of wing as well. So I think that the skills are definitely translatable. So we were talking earlier, you'd mentioned that during the course of that progression, you'd maybe done some speed riding and tried some other modalities.
Yeah, like as far as, I love this topic of progression, just because I think that's the draw to the sport, is that, like you're learning so much. I think the learning to fly just takes you to, you start, getting interested in weather, you start getting interested in, like, I was already in the mountains, traveling around, but it just opened up a new world,
Totally.
And as far as progression goes, though, I think, there's ways everyone can progress at different ways, but I think things that contributed to my progression, I think, which should be unique to Alaska, I'd always get grounded, because you flyable conditions, you're always checking the weather and the wind strength, especially, because if it's too strong, you're just going to get dragged and beat up. But in Alaska, they have frozen lakes in the wintertime, and so I would just kite with a speed wing, and you can just travel on frozen lakes with your speed wing. So it gives you good handling, and I think that was,
it's probably way fun.
Yeah, I guess it's fun because at least you're touching the wing. You're inflating. Like I love just inflating my wings. So
that's another plug that I'd make for the sport, is that training for flying is so fun. Like training is kiting on a frozen lake and getting dragged
just
around.
To feel the power of the wind.
Yeah, totally. It's kiting magical. Is benching up at the north side 1,000 feet at sunset. Like that's a big milestone that we can look forward to. And so, doing all the endurance sports, we've also put in our time training and more of a grind. But I love how fun training for flying is.
Yeah,
it's getting out there and doing it. I want to move to a topic that you mentioned, which is logistics, the technical aspects, planning, forecasting wind, reading the map, understanding the interaction in the terrain. It's a huge topic, but I guess I kind of have two lenses it'd be cool to talk about. Leading us into our next topic, like of risk and safety. I mean, how important is it, and what are kind of the steps that you take to kind of optimize your safety flying as it pertains to forecasting and to reading the terrain?
Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line, is we do these things for fun, and they're fulfilling. Like everyone needs something to be passionate about in life, But the last thing you want to do is break your body or worse, die, And so, as far as with that, stepwise progression, having a good mentor at the beginning is so important, because there's so much that you don't know. And yes, you can learn the hard way, school of hard knocks, but you'll pay for it too,
So,
but those are fun stories if you live through them, and they teach you a lot, But you only have so many marbles, they say.
Totally,
But I guess, a lot of the people here or skiers, climbers. So you're used to making that risk balance, decision every day.
Yeah.
But I just can't say enough about flying. It's just so fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say something in that regard, and we can come back to forecasting, because I think that's, those of us that have spent time in the mountains, probably in the backcountry, have done a good amount of both of these things, which is thought about risk reward. Like, we're obviously taking risks for a reason when we do, hopefully. But also on the technical aspect, you do some planning, right? So if you're a backcountry skier, which, we're very passionate about here, you read the AVI forecast. You look at the snow, you feel the snow as you're going, you're cued into your environment. And it feels great when you feel like, okay, I have my high level information, I've looked at the map, and now I'm here in the moment and I'm making decisions and guiding myself through this experience with a certain level of commitment, but there's that, I love that space. Like, I love that nuanced space where, you can do, it's fun for me to sit down with the map and the forecast and figure out, what am I going to do this morning, But then the real magic, right, is in the moment. And how do you process all of that and integrate it and do it safely? Because there's a balance too. It's like, I really want to fly. I hiked all the way up here, or like, I'm going to be late for work if I don't get down, or I just bombed out and I'm in the desert somewhere and where's my ride, or whatever it is. So I think planning is a pretty mandatory and kind of demanding aspect of the sport. I mean, it's a lot more fickle than running, for sure. Maybe, sort of similar to skiing, but I think that's something that takes some getting used to. It's like, you don't just say, I'm flying on Thursday, and go fly, right? It's waking up at 5 a.m. and seeing how the stations look, and then, making a decision, hey, I'm going to drive somewhere else because of how it looks. So I think, did you get some of that mentorship in terms of like the planning and the forecasting?
Yeah, great mentors in Alaska. Though I didn't, again, like, I should have gotten those mentors a lot sooner. My friend Ty, his name's Ty Rizzoni, and he always said, Sam, you're hard to kill. So that's not it's an endearing compliment, I guess. But,
sure, yeah.
but yeah, as far as just, I think big game changer moments, in my progression were, spending a lot of time on the ground kiting, getting used to gear that way, doing an SIV, which is a course where you basically get towed up behind a boat, and then you do things to your wing to induce, emergency type settings. And like, that was huge. And then just flying with other people. Once you, can find good mentors and a good community, which it's totally available. Like paragliders are the nicest people you'll meet, And so like, once you're, just working, as a group, thinking as a group, there's a lot of safety in that. But then on the flip side, sometimes we go ground suck. Like, sometimes, like, I would say on the whole, it's probably more protective, but it can be a little, there's always balance, like,
right.
It can be.
It's like everybody's standing at the top of a ski line, nobody wants to drop. And it's like, once there's some hesitation, everyone's like, well, I don't want to go first.
But I think that's like, you said it perfectly. Like, just as you're hiking up to a launch, you're taking in, so many signs and signals. You're feeling the air, you're feeling, you're seeing the sky change, you're seeing birds. And I think that's why I love paragliding, is that you're out in this beautiful medium, and and you never have to open your pack, And I think for me, training that discipline meant taking my pack on days I shouldn't fly and just walking down. Because you always have temptation, like, to, hey,
and you get used to it.
This feels good right now.
Yeah.
And then,
Totally.
You always try to justify it, but, just, like, there's, we always use the saying, live to fly another day, just like live to ski another day. Like, you have to, always, that spirit of discipline takes time to hone.
Yeah,
and it's something you always have to be consistent with.
I was going to ask about that. Like you've made some comments,
Yeah.
maybe half joking about
Yeah.
kind of early on getting more rowdy, but I mean, how has that changed? Like 8 years in now, and you're competing. Like, how do you feel about the risk environment that you're in? Like, does it feel like a sustainable sport for you now?
Again, I think, because I fly every chance I get.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same decision making, protocol that you work through. That said, so much human factor in competition, though.
Yeah.
And it's so fun too, though. In a way, that's one of the draws to it, is that it requires even more discipline to step back, and say,
in a competitive setting.
I need to just walk, or I need to,
Yeah.
I think I'm getting better at it. I have a reserve toss story that's at a race, actually.
Yeah.
Let's see, this wasn't my first X-Red Rocks, but it was like my second X-Red Rocks, and the big guns were there. So like Aaron Duragotti's a Red Bull, top paragliding pilot in the world. He was there. Pal Katz was there, like an acro champion. Tanguy.
Yeah.
So all these big Euro pilots there, and I got human factored.
Yeah, right.
And so I had a good first day in that race where I was in the lead. I was beating Duragotti in the air, and then I just let off the brakes and took a bad glide. But anyway, like that day, I got a little, like I flipped the switch and I got greedy. And then the second day we raced, I took a better line up the hill, and I beat him to the top. And then I was like, I'm going to jump him, and I'm going to launch right now, and get ahead. And so what I should have done is stopped, assessed conditions, drank something, ate something, but that was, a heat of the moment type decision. And so it was super strong, and I just got yarded. I launched and just got yarded, basically we call it plucked, where you just get yanked up in the air and you're kind of ragdolled. And then I was able to, once you're over the, beyond that front compression zone of the launch, it's usually calmer air. And so I was able to just, regain control of the wing. And luckily I didn't get, dragged into anything. The wind just kind of pulled me around all the other competitors. And there's a vehicle up there too, I think, that I barely missed. So anyway, that was mistake one. And then again, everyone, when everyone saw me launching, that made everyone else rush. And so everyone else started launching. I launched, probably fourth after I, rebundled my wing. And then it was just so sharp and rowdy, the air. And I just got in the back of a thermal, and it just yanked me super high. And then there was a column of, downward air that just smashed my wing. And I had only like this much, just a little bit of my wing open. And then when it reinflated, I just got yanked, and I was pretty close to the ground relatively. And so I ended up just, throwing my reserve.
It's always a good decision.
And just gritting my teeth, waiting for impact. And like I was just I just came in softly, and I was like waiting for the bracing, and I'm like on the ground looking around.
Well, there's some good luck, but there's also some skill and some decision making. I mean, one thing that you learn, so when you're paragliding, you carry a reserve parachute. So if your wing does intractably collapse, you have a backup. But it's a very chaotic time when you're being asked to deploy that. So you need to have the presence of mind to say, okay, which way is up? What's happening? It's kind of like being swept in an undercurrent if you know if you've surfed or anything where, or like a riptide where you lose your sense of orientation. And so the training that you did with the SIV, it helps. It's very important to be able to have that presence of mind to say, I don't have that much altitude. I don't know which way's up. I'm throwing my reserve. Or the wing's in a ball. I can't fix it. I'm not going to be the hero and try to save it, right? Because you could have said, no, I've got to pull this out because the big dogs, are behind me or whatever. But, you made a good call. It probably saved your life. So
super lucky and super grateful. Because, again, you learn from mistakes, and that was a huge learning experience. So anyway, like fast forward this last year, I think I have been better disciplined. The race route, we were going to have to topland this big plateau area in southern Utah.
Actually, can we run it back a little bit?
Yeah.
Can you just talk, just so we have a little more context, just what is the structure of these races? Like this is a very specific niche of the sport, I guess, and the format is unique. So when we talked about hike and fly, meaning you hike up and you fly down. We talked about cross-country paragliding. This is like kind of the pinnacle of both. So, what are these X races, X Red Rocks, X Pyrenees, and like what does just the structure of the course look like? What's the objective?
So every race has different, like a different structure as far as like X Red Rocks is the only U.S. hike and fly race, that's typically held every year. And they hold this one in Monroe, Utah. And it used to be a 3-day race. Gavin's extended that to a 4-day race. And it's a stage race where we look at the weather and then the race committee decides where to send you. And so they'll look if it's good flying conditions, we'll have a longer flying day. If it's poor weather, it means usually it's like a sprint kind of ground day. But so like X Red Rocks has it's pretty unique in that it's a stage race, and every day the route, the course is going to change. But it's super scenic in Monroe, and like we've had really cool flights, from Richfield or Monroe to deep into the San Rafael Swell. We'll go south, we'll go north, just depending on the weather.
And how much hiking versus flying are you doing, and how much does that vary? Like,
it's as far as like they try to use the whole day, and I think the record distance that we've had to walk has been like over 30 miles.
It's a lot of walking.
People walk, and then the farthest flights, I think we've gotten up to almost 100 miles, long flights. That means
it's a lot of both.
Yeah, so like it's kind of a scavenger hunt, like in a way, because they're saying depending on the weather, it's flying weather's good here, so we're going to have you hike up here, fly to there, hike up there, fly to there, and so it's interesting just because you're all trying to do the same course basically.
I like that I never heard someone refer to a paragliding race as scavenger hunt, but it kind of is because there's these points that you need to hit, and it's you can make it there however you need to if you can top land.
Because a lot of times the goal is too high, and so you don't make the flying isn't possible, and whoever walks the furthest is declared the winner of the day.
Right. So you got to have both. Yeah. Like the navigation, the fitness, the flying skill.
But you're just playing in the mountains,
Totally,
and so it makes it fun that way.
Have you done any like vol biv or anything or?
Yeah, so in Alaska I did.
Sorry, vol biv is basically like backpacking paragliding. So you bring your camping stuff with you. You launch slow, so maybe you hike 1,000 feet at the beginning of the day. You fly up, you travel a long distance, and then you can land, camp, start the next day, something like that. So wow, vol biv in Alaska is sick.
Like again, it's a magic backpack because you carry it on your back. It's not too heavy. Backpacking gear. We live in a golden age of lightweight gear, So, you'll just carry a Skimoco lightweight gear, And so you just carry, if you're hardcore, you can just sleep in your wing. It's a giant tent. And then, like depending on if you want comforts, you'll bring a tiny stove. Alaska's awesome, and there's water everywhere. And it's clean water, and so like that was always, super convenient to have, clean water. In your mind, you're always worried about bears, but I've never had a bear encounter on a Volbiv. But even to take it further, like in Alaska, there's so much water that there's too much water, and so like you'll have rivers and creeks that you'll need to, like you can get trapped by water. Totally. And so in Alaska, you can carry a pack raft, and so you can fly, carry a pack raft. It gets heavier, but then you have an exit strategy sometimes.
Yeah.
But
and I mean the another thing, just speaking in general about flying, it just reminds me. I mean, not only is the distance that you can cover in this magic backpack incredible, but the perspective that you get, in the terrain. It's, I mean, you don't really know until you know like that you've just been attached to the earth this whole time, and the first time that you see that 3-dimensional perspective, I mean, that still blows my mind every time. Like, I'm just on the glide, and I look around and I'm just like, this is a wild place to be, and especially in Volbiv when you're just, exploring, and you say, I'm gonna go sleep over there, But look, on the flip side of that too, I do a lot of speed flying. You get to a point where I'll be upside down in a couloir and I'll go, that's a beautiful juniper tree. Like, and I'll admire water, shooting off of a rock or something, and time is totally slowed down, and you're like in this bizarre place that you shouldn't be able to be, whether that's at 15,000 feet, or whether it's just, kicking grass or whatever it is. So it blows your mind just to be able to interact with the world in a new way, right? Or at least for me. So anyway.
For sure. I have a funny story. Like, I was flying Hurricane Ridge down southwest Utah, where I'm from, the other day, and I love how you interact with nature. But sometimes the interactions aren't so positive. This hawk came and bombed me, put a giant hole in my wing, and I have this race coming up. I'm leaving. It was a week from that attack, and I have this giant hole in my wing that I have to deal with. But it was pretty cool to see. He's right there, and then he kept reloading. He'd fly back up, and then if I would shake my wing at him, or scream at him, he would, he would turn.
That's
definitely.
that's
a unique experience.
Unique hazard for flying.
Face to face.
We have there's a site out here that's known to have a very aggressive hawk as well. So we say, better fly fast through there. So.
But it's just another medium to move through space, through mountains. It's an elegant way to do it.
Totally. Well said. Yeah.
And like when we fly and we don't reach where we're trying to get, we call that bombing out. But every bomb out is associated with you're in a new place, new problem solving to get out of that place. And those are some of my fondest memories. Like, oh man, it was here. I had to walk a lot longer than I anticipated. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe more on the descent-oriented axis of that. It's I'll often go maybe to look for a new flight in a range that's unfamiliar, and I'll spend hours looking at the map and giving myself options. But a lot of time, you get tunnel kind of vision into, I want to fly this line, or I want to fly west into the sunset, or whatever it is. And when you get up there and you're surprised by the conditions, it's often an opportunity to flex some creativity, and to say like, okay, I've done this 1,000 times. What's my solution? Like, where am I going to look? Where am I going to go? And I've had a couple experiences where I got to run an amazing ridge that I never noticed on the map or the satellite, because it was a little bit more technical than what I'd been up, but it led me to where I needed to go based on the conditions that day. And so, even on just a morning adventure, I feel like you can arrive at some unexpected places. And it's great too to be able to synthesize the skills. So, you come from a mountain endurance background with, skiing. I think that, we talked about how that give you good perspective on risk. But I think it also gives you a lot of confidence, right? Like navigating terrain and saying like, okay, this is not where I expected to land. Like, what's my best route like to go from here to there? And I think one reason that I'm really stoked about trying to get the backcountry ski, alpine climbing, trail running community more into flying is you're gonna make incredible pilots. Like some of my favorite people to fly with, they have that that drive and that creativity, and they also have the skills. They have the self-awareness, they have the discipline, to some extent, So, not to soapbox about it, but it's interesting because flying. People often will say like, oh, it's like it's kind of like skydiving or something, and I mean the nuances in people's background that leads them to flying. Like people that come from mountain sports are very different pilots than those that come from. I don't want to pick on skydivers or anything. I do want to pick on skydivers, but just as another example, it's a sport that requires a different set of skills and a different disposition. So,
so who do you think are the telemarkers and the snowboarders of flying?
Well, hang glide. So the telemarkers are hang gliders for sure, 100%, because it's like they're fixed in their old ways, and I'm sure there's advantages that are no doubt, but they're just a little bit eccentric and kooky. Like I feel like you can always spot the hang glider, and the thing about how you know someone's a tele skier? They'll tell you. That's what the hang gliders are too. What was the other one? I mean, Skimo. The Skimo of the flying world is like single skins. It's like you're sacrificing some performance for weight. The proponents would say you're going to go further, you're going to go faster, you're going to fly more. So Skimo, ski more. You got a light wing. You might be able to put 5,000 feet in before work. On a big hike where you don't want to schlep your kid up there. So, I don't know. What are the other? I mean, free ride is speed flying for sure, right? You're taking more risk for more reward. You kind of got that high speed flow sport aspect. And then, you're 95 underfoot, all conditions, just like wants to get out there a lot. I mean, that's mini wing to me. Like it's something that everyone should have in the quiver because I think it gives you the most opportunities to go and fly in a way. So I think there's a lot of parallels between skiing and flying, not just. And we can do the same thing for climbing. Like I always say, bouldering is like speed flying. It's like it's kind of quick and to the point. It's kind of intense. It's like. But it's very structured and it's very predictable in a way. And I think mini wing flying is kind of like sport climbing. It's kind of safe and accessible and fun, and you can just kind of do it on a daily basis. And I feel like cross country paragliding, it's kind of like trad climbing or alpine climbing. It's adventurous, it's unknown, it has its unique dangers that aren't inherent maybe to the other mediums. And so I think it's really cool to play with all these.
It's a golden age, it really
totally.
is. Like,
all
we have so many
all
options.
the sports are just going off right now, and the Wasatch is such a cool place to be for it. Just because we were talking about this before we started, like.
Yeah, for sure. I try to come up here as often as I can to train because the Wasatch is a gym for flying and just for mountain sports in general. The access.
Totally.
It's awesome.
And we have, like we were talking about, mentors, and we were talking about community. I mean, it is a great community here. I mean, I'm sure in Alaska it was tough. You kind of had to trial by fire a little bit. It sounds like you did find a good community, but I mean, here there's so much support. And there's so much stuff. Sure. Like there's so many niches, and there's more people in each of those niches here than I think probably anywhere else. And that's really cool. So. Somehow we're meeting for the first time. This is a great way to get to know each other. But I had kind of another question. We were talking about the race and really just your whole history. I know this is a hard question to answer, but like, what do you think are your strengths, like as a pilot? Like what kind of makes you unique? You can do it. I know it's a hard question to answer, but I know you can do it. I can make it easier. Why are you better than your brothers?
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, there you go. Now let's go.
No, they'll give you the same answer.
That's okay. They'll have to come next time.
No, I think we're good. We're good at trying hard. Yeah, I don't know. Like that's a very introspective question.
Yeah.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
But like I just love I think I just really love it. I think you just have to have passion for the
Yeah.
sport.
Well, I'm hearing passion and also commitment, like trying hard.
And just because once you're passionate about something, the learning just comes naturally.
Totally.
And I just think of like young kids, like when they want to learn something, it's not like you don't have to force them to learn it. And that, I think for me, paragliding was kind of finding that joy of learning again.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, same for me. I was very, monomaniacally focused on climbing for like a decade almost.
Oh, really?
And I accomplished a lot and I really enjoyed that. And I was kind of just on the tail end of that swell, and flying kind of came into my life at the perfect time. So,
but they collaborate so well.
Totally,
too,
right? And that's and all the skills. But finding that new kind of spark of joy and passion in the sport. But 8 years still is, you've been with it. So
yeah, it's true. Yeah, and I think it's a lifetime sport.
For sure.
I think every sport has its attrition rate, but I think paragliding, you go to Europe and you'll see a lot of elderly people still launching their wings. So
and actually that's a good point. I think I was having a conversation with some folks, kind of talking about paragliding versus speed flying, and it was kind of the classic like that's like a dangerous young person sport. They said, why aren't there are so many old speed flyers? The sort of obvious answer is it's only been around for a few years. But I think I realized this only afterwards, and it would have been a great comeback. It's you have to hike a shitload. But in Europe, what's interesting is you see a much broader range of people in general because they have lift access.
Yeah.
And increasingly here, there's some drive-up access and stuff too. But I agree with you. And I want to emphasize that it's at least my belief that the sport can be done sustainably indefinitely. It certainly has its inherent risks. It has a lot of subjective risks. But I think, like all these outdoor sports, it's so much in the decision-making mindset. And I mean, I don't know if this seems the case to you, and actually it'd be great if you could speak to some, maybe not that you've been involved in, but maybe accidents or mistakes that you've seen made. I mean, how many of those feel kind of, human error based versus sort of objective hazard, I guess?
I think probably majority are human based because we overestimate our ability and underestimate the conditions.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And again, you have to be bit, I think, to respect the conditions more and more. But that's life, Life's all about risk and benefit. And you just have to. We run this calculus every day.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, it is important because every flight you are leaving the ground.
Totally.
So you need to
it's very mindful
have a good,
too. Like it's kind of a joke, but sometimes I tell people like, your choice to look at Instagram while you drive is a huge risk reward choice. I mean, the reward is so low, and the risk is so high. But you can't deny that that's exactly what it is, And I'm not saying that's riskier than paragliding, but the point is there's all kinds of risks that I think that people knowingly and unknowingly take without considering the reward. But what I love about flying is it's in your face, right? Like you're standing there on the talus, or you're standing there, in the blasting thermal, and you're like, you really think about it. You have to really be mindful. It's there, so for you to look at. And even like with backcountry skiing, I mean, avalanches, it's all quiet before it goes, but in a weird way, flying, I mean, the environment talks to you a little bit more, and so I think there's a lot of opportunity to mitigate some of that.
And as you think about that library and wealth of experiences, like you've had, even the bad ones, like they're so visceral. They're so they're just so like those are the moments of your life that I just I can't imagine without. know,
Yeah,
so,
I mean, failure is an
Yeah,
incredible
yeah.
teacher, especially for the motivated individual.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've covered a lot so
Yeah.
far. Yeah, I feel like we got plenty of time for questions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Very
a couple
open,
people
yeah.
here are interested in flying. Oh, go ahead. As a younger brother, like to have an older brother like Jared has just been one of the greatest blessings of my life. You know, because he got me into cycling, backcountry skiing, you know, climbing things, and now flying. But yeah, I'm a much better pilot than Jared. But that said, he did his first SIV this year with me, and now he's on the warpath. But yeah, I also lived in Alaska, and after I learned, and the flying possibilities and options there were, although it's, you know, again, this is a mecca of flying, but Alaska did, like, it gave me so much breadth of experience, you know. But yeah, it's just like any sport. You got to put in the time, and if you enjoy it, you just keep going, you know.
Yeah. And actually, that's something that I wanted to touch on as well. Kind of the commitment and dedication axis in this sport. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because I think when it pulls you in, it really pulls you in, like it did for us and for a lot of folks. But it's actually a really difficult sport to dabble. Like, it's really hard to have it as like your third or fourth hobby, because it does require a lot of time, a lot of patience, and the progression is gradual.
Yeah.
So I always think that's worth mentioning to people. I think there's a way to do it, but I think you need to taper your expectations in a way for folks that, you know, they're looking for like, like, you know, one day a week or a couple times a month, I just want to go out and do something really cool on a wing. It's like, that's tough, you know?
Yeah.
That might not happen. Like, you kind of have to grind for at least, I would say, a year before you can kind of put it down and pick it back up. So, and that means, you know, going to the flight park and going to the lake or whatever, right? Like, it's not all big sends and stuff. So, but
You have a question? You want to go first?
sure, yeah. I always thought of myself as like a very like technically savvy, like cool under pressure. Like, I understood like the system, and they told me like, you know, my training's in engineering. They're like, oh, you're gonna totally get this. And I was like panicked, like before I was just like, there's a million lines, there's the fabric, there's like, I got a hands up, hands down, run, don't do this, don't do that, like, you know. And I remember, and my instructors were very good, like, and they were not panicked. So I say it in that tone, but it was like, okay, like, here's what you're gonna do. And I remember feeling overwhelmed, and then I remember thinking, shit, that was pretty easy, actually. It's kind of shocking how easy it is, to be honest. Like, and I don't want to sound like you can't mess it up, because you totally can, and you totally will. Like, and that's why instruction, and I'll just pitch this too, is so important, because being on the radio with someone who's seen, you know, not your friend who's a really good pilot, right? But someone who's seen hundreds of beginners make all the mistakes, they can really, really help you understand what to avoid and what you need to do. And so having that voice, you know, standing there and holding your hands when you're kiting, having them on the radio saying, okay, relax, lean back, put your hands up. Okay, you know, put your hands down, look to the left. You know, it's really comforting to say, okay, I trust this person and they know what they're doing. And so I feel like, for me at least, I felt very overwhelmed by the gear, and very overwhelmed by the fact that I was literally gonna fly my first day ever learning about this stuff. Like, I did not expect to fly my first day. And they, you know, the conditions were good, and I was running off the top of the south side. So for me, again, one experience, I was like, this is actually, it's kind of scary, but it's not very hard. And that's another thing that I would almost kind of caution people about, is it may look like, you may assume it's a lot. It's actually technically, at least at the beginning, it's actually technically quite easy. You don't need to do much. I think it's a lot easier than rock climbing or skiing. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
it.
Uh-huh.
You kind of sit there and you want to go to the right and you kind of go this way, and you want to go to the left, you kind of go this way. That could get you in a lot of trouble because another thing I like to say, and this is how I felt for like a year, that learning to fly was like learning to rock climb, but you can only free solo. It's like, it's not that hard, but you need to take it really slow. You need to be sure of yourself. And I felt like I was quite stiff and quite cautious for a long time because I felt like no mistakes, And that, you know, it turns out there's actually a lot of margin for mistakes. I mean, you have stories, I have stories now. Everyone who's learned to fly in here has stories. Like, there is margin, but I think it's worth treating it like the margin is small. So
Yeah,
it took me a while to open up, and truthfully, I don't think I progressed until I relaxed a little bit more. Like, I just was so concerned with doing everything straight and narrow that I didn't kind of let myself feel the process. So I think a lot of progression came also from letting it happen.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Yeah, my first lesson was super awkward as well, but it was so fun. So if you like, and you can always just take one lesson, you know what I mean? Just to try it. But I always remember though, my instructor said, he said, because you have to sign a waiver. He's like, you know, you're not having fun today. You have to sign a waiver. But it was fun.
Another thing that I can sort of pitch, or at least mention, is tandem flying is not required. I actually never flew like a tandem flight before I was the pilot, so that's kind of funny. Meaning it's not a necessary part of instruction, but I think that it can be very instructive.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I think especially if you're someone maybe like Jack, you feel a little queasy or uneasy about being in the air for the first time. It's a great way. So basically, you're hooked in just like you would be, but your instructor is flying the controls. So you get to feel, what does it feel like to launch? What does it feel like to be in the air? They'll even let you steer. That can be a nice stepping stone where, you know, you have to pay for that, but it's maybe even before you take a lesson, just like, you know, does this freak me out? Do I love this? Like, what does it look like? You know, so I could sort of recommend that as an option for people as well, but also know that unlike skydiving, it's not required. Like, if you take a lesson, there's a pretty good chance you're going to fly your first day too. So I'd say there's a small chance you're going to ball it up.
Yeah, I'm just a regular guy. Like, this competing stuff kind of came along with progression, because you know, you as you learn something, you always like, who can I learn from? You know, who are the best people to learn from? And so when Gavin was announcing all these Red Bull guys coming to do X-Red Rocks, I was like, that sounds like a great opportunity to learn about the best hike and fly pilots, you know, and so that's how I got into it. But then once you do it, you're like, oh, this is fun. It's challenging. It gives you, you know, that excitement and purpose. You know, like it's a great healthy sport because you're always hiking up something to train. You know, but yeah, I kind of just enjoyed it more and more, and yeah, X-Pyr is going to be like a dream. Like they hold this race every 2 years, and the GOAT of paragliding is going to be racing this year. His name's Kriegel, and it's just cool. I'm going to go see if I can keep up with Kriegel.
Fly with the eagle.
How long I can stay with him, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but exactly, human factor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a awesome. Like, every time I go, you meet new people, you have these great experiences with each other, you know, and it's yeah, I'd highly recommend it. It's just super fun. But you've done it, so what do you think?
Yeah, it's fun to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And like a goal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like the progression too. Like, I feel like you're you know, because you think one way of how you would do this this task, and then you see how everyone else did it differently. And like, I didn't think of that, you know? And so that gives you so much more perspective, like different options. So yeah, again, it's like that growth mindset is what's addicting, I think, for me, is just, you know, you're learning, and it's satisfying to do that.
Are there any other? Oh, a couple more.
Yeah, so flying wise, I've never flown the Uintas, you know. It'd be remote. I suffer-fested the Uintas with my brother Jared when we skied across them once.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it'd be rowdy, you know, if it was remote. I bet it'd be sweet. But I love a Wasatch tour. You know, this north-south range. You know, the wind just hits it perfect. You know, conditions could just be magical. And yeah, if I had a favorite place to fly, people always ask favorite place to fly. Utah's tough because it's big air. Like, you go really high, you're launching, you're sweltering heat, and then your camelback's freezing because you're 18,000 feet. You know, you have to use oxygen, and like that's technical, and like that's kind of, you know, that might not be everyone's cup of tea. But like Alaska flying was just sea level, you know, just scenic. So I miss Alaska. I love Alaska flying. And access, you know, I was just up in Oregon recently, and, you know, I'm so grateful for our trail network, you know, like options to land. It's intimidating when you start flying because you see all these trees, power lines, cars, and it's, you know, certainly sensory overload. But there's little, you know, as you get more experience and you practice your landings, you can be more and more confident just landing on a street or, you know, a small section.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I mean, for me, I learned here, one of the places that really just like cracked it open for me was the Sierra Nevada. It was really cool because it was a range I'd spent a lot of time climbing and skiing and just scrambling and exploring. And then to go there and get the new perspective on it, flying, was awesome. And then what was really cool is I actually went back with Ben this spring, and there was one particular line, but there's actually a few where I had actually sort of, I don't want to say discovered, because it's always been there, but I'd been inspired to go back by a line that was unnamed and not in the guidebook, but was just a total mega line that I actually flew by chance on a day that I had to bail from my main objectives. Like we were talking about, I didn't make it to the summit, and I flew this, ended up being like a over 5,000 foot splitter granite couloir. And then I was like, I want to go back the next year and ski that. And we went and skied it in perfect corn. So it was like, the Sierra to me it's a magical place, and just to experience it in all these different directions and it be part of my personal growth as like a mountain, you know, athlete. So certainly the Wasatch is like, it's like easy money. Like the Wasatch, it's like, it's always on. It's pretty easy to get around, whether you're, you know, paragliding or speed flying or speed riding. It's really got a lot going on, but
always to be treated with respect, because it's
for sure, for sure, no doubt. I mean, you know, people joke like any like European pilot, and I mean these people are very, very good pilots. Like our like average launch is like a nightmare to them. They're like, oh, there's like rocks and like, you know, like sagebrush, and so you definitely cut your teeth here on technical aspects. So yeah, the wind's really good and like it's friendly, but I mean, you know, you learn a lot and it's very transferable, and you go to a lot of places and you're like, oh, there's AstroTurf to launch on, like at a paragliding competition. Oh, this is nice. Like, so yeah. But yeah, I mean, around here, like I don't know, raise your hand if you don't fly and you've been flown over somewhere when you're out running or climbing or anything. Yeah, where was that? Wire. Granger. I mean, Cottonwoods a little bit maybe. I remember I saw people, I had no idea what people were doing, but you know, landed on the road in Little Cottonwoods, stuff like that. So they're amazing places anywhere that inspires you. I know for me, a huge one was I used to scramble a lot out here, and like there's a couple scrambles that I don't necessarily need to name, but they're 5-star Wasatch Classic scrambles. that I just hated the descent. You know, it was like, this is so fun, but it takes about as long to get up or to get down as it does to get up. And you know, did one of those this morning, and 4 minutes to set up and 2 minutes to fly down, and yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
Maybe one more question.
Like all you need these days is your phone.
Oh, just
Yeah. I mean, you can get fancy and have like a big deck, like if you know, but all you need is your phone these days. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And it gives you good data. It gives you, you know, the Euros are so far ahead as far as like forecasting, things like that. I going over there. I've just been finding out different apps I can use to track, you know, the weather. They actually have, you know, like heat maps of, just like Strava has heat maps of people, but they have heat maps of paragliding tracks. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things on the horizon as far as navigation. Makes it too easy though. Like if you can, you know, the magic of flying is just like, you know, you just can't see anything, and then you feel.
Feel
you know,
it. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. Yeah.
It's overwhelming, but I see it just as like one of the coolest adventures. You know, I'm going to be carrying that pack from the Atlantic coast of northern Spain to the Mediterranean. 350 miles is the route this year. You have 7 days to finish it, and you can move by foot or by glider. And then I have my two brothers, Aaron and Jared, supporting me in a van, and hopefully we'll be able to meet up. Hopefully the roads will connect us. You know, there's 50 total teams. We're the only American team, so super, you know, stoked to be representing our U.S. contingent. But yeah, super excited. There's the ages are from 20. I think the oldest guy is Toma Kokanea, who's a legend himself, and he's 56. I think average age is like in the 30s. So like it'll be, you know, just a, you know, awesome race.
Is there like a specific crux that you know of?
Yeah, like so our first turn point, we have to run like 12 miles and then hike it's a 3,000 foot hike. So I think that they consider that one of the fastest sections because you're starting at sea level. You have to get to something you can launch from. And in other years, you know, it just depends on the weather. If it's raining, you're on foot driving forward. Stats wise, like I think I saw someone walk 200 miles like once.
Out of 350, you said?
Yeah. And then they've changed the course every 2 years. The fastest it's been flown was 3 days by Kriegel, but it was pretty direct. I think. So they decided to make it harder so that it would be funner for the spectators to watch over a week instead of just 3 days. But there'll be live tracking, so you have a GPS at all times. You start at 7 a.m. and end at 9 p.m. and you have to plan tactically that when your stop time at 9, you can't move 150 meters from that point. And so if I get stuck in the mountains, I'll be like sleeping in my wing. I'm not looking forward to that. Yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, like it's
super rad.
Yeah, super like notable Americans have done it. Like Cedar Wright did it like 4 years ago. He didn't make goal, but put up a good fight. I don't think he had to sleep in his wing. Jared Scheid did it 2 years ago. He did really well. He did awesome. He had a good performance. Let's see, but yeah, it'll be fun.
Can people follow along?
Yeah, certainly. Like it's just X-Pyr, X-Pyr is the race name, and there's live tracking for that.
Sweet. It's actually super fun to watch, especially to see some of the footage. I mean, these guys do gnarly stuff. Like,
but I'm just stoked to see the Pyrenees. It's a sea of mountains. There's a cool. I think they got the inspiration from a trail called the GR, and it goes from coast to coast there. So if you're a trail runner, I mean, that would put that on your bucket list.
There you go.
I think there's a good hut network, and
Very cool.
but yeah, that's what I'll be doing, walking.
Flying. Well,
right now I've been on a science in I guess SIS gel kick.
pitch, throw one over here. Just kidding.
But pushing hard because like depends on who sets the pace, and like I guess it's a long haul race, but you like if you're with the peloton, if you're with that pack, there's so much synergy with that. People finding climbs. Like if you're flying as a group, you fly so much faster than flying solo. So that's my main fear right now is like who do you pick to stay with, and whether or not you can even hang with them. So it's that's the magic, I guess, of the test is coach. My brother's my coach, Jared. So I think he's prepared me well, but yeah, it's been a fun. It's certainly been a rewarding experience. The preparation is like I've really enjoyed the training aspect.
I mean, I've seen you guys getting after it. So
if people are always asking, why are you hiking to the top of mountains when you can, like with paragliders, the better you get, the lower you launch because you can use free lift, and
that's a good reason because you're gonna go compete.
But we've been just trying to get vert, launch from the top.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us and your night and driving up from Hurricane.
Yeah,
it's a great way to meet.
Yeah, you too, man.
You guys can. But thank you all as well for coming out. I know that was a lot of information. Hopefully informative. I think we're gonna try to put this up on YouTube. If any of you had friends that maybe wanted to come and couldn't make it, we sound great at 1.5 speed while you're doing something else, I'm sure. But yeah, no, I mean, look, this is a new thing for us. If you're a customer of the shop, we're stoked about getting people in the mountains on the right gear. So there's a lot of good community here. There's a lot of stoke for flying. We can talk afterwards, but come into the shop if you're curious. Add Sam on Instagram. I've certainly enjoyed getting to follow along a little bit with the training and the whole process. And yeah, we're hoping to do a couple more events this summer. They're going to be a little bit different. I think next time we're going to really break down the gear and the process a little bit more. So we'll have, we kind of carry a curated selection of hike and fly specific ultralight gear. We're going to go through, what does that stuff cost? How much does it weigh? What kind of backpack do you put it in? Like, can you run with it? Can you climb with it? Etc. So if you are interested in more of the nitty gritty and the details, I think we've got one of those coming up. And then still in the works, but really excited about the potential to put together a little bit more of like diverse panel and just hear about who's pushing the sport in different directions. So, getting one of the legends of cross-country paragliding, some of the younger folks pushing para-alpinism, complex mountaineering objectives on a wing, pushing speed flying, all of the different disciplines. And so I think it's going to be a really cool summer. Hopefully you guys come out. Should always be free chapel beer, so that should be a motivation in itself. And look forward to chatting about it more. So yeah, thanks, Sam.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, guys.